So it's currently like 1:50 in the morning at the moment. And I was just kind of lying there in bed thinking to myself that competitive games have kind of ruined my perspective of video gaming, and it's kind of damaged something I like really love doing and enjoy the whole process of. So while I'm talking about that, we're in Hollow Fall right now. I'm just gonna walk around and kind of tell you my thoughts and my feelings on why I think this is an actual serious thing that needs to be talked about. So the whole process, the whole time I've basically played video games. I originally started out on the original Xbox, believe it or not. And I was playing games like, the first Halo, Halo 2. And those games, to me, were magical. And at the time, I kind of took a lot of those things for granted. The movement of the game was fun. The storyline of the game was fun. At the time, the visuals of the game were amazing. And I found myself enveloped, for a lack of a better term, in this world that was completely separate from reality. And as time went on, I eventually actually ended up in this game, which is World of Warcraft. I remember stepping foot into this fantasy world for the very first time ever, and having that sense of exploration, the character building, the storylines, the lore of pretty much everything going on inside the game. And I thought to myself, wow, this is the game for me. It's fun, it's directive, it's beautiful. According at the time, it was like 2004, right? It was just completely different and something that I never thought I was going to see anything like in my time. And at the same time, it was breaking boundaries inside the gaming world. No one had ever seen what an MMO was like. There was some here and there, you kind of like Dragon Age and I think RuneScape at the time, that were kind of doing it, but not to something that was on the scale of something like World of Warcraft. And so I sunk hundreds of thousands, well, not hundreds of thousands, but hundreds or thousands of hours into this game, exploring, building my character, falling in love with the game more and more. And somewhere along the line, I decided that I wanted to branch out into a different scene, into more of a competitive space. And so began my toxic relationship with League of Legends. I joined League of Legends when it was, I believe, in Season 2, maybe end of Season 1. And at the time, I thought the game was a lot of fun. But there was something that kind of made this experience different from that of World of Warcraft. And it was that I was playing with my real life friends. We were making those moments, those memories, the laughing, the staying up late, just enjoying ourselves. And so I took it upon myself that at the time I was pretty bad at the game, and I wanted to experience more. I wanted to get better at the game and prove to my friends that I'm not bad at the game anymore. And so I spent a lot of time playing this competitive game. And I realized as I was laying in bed tonight that was kind of the start of a pretty gnarly, what I would consider, downfall in my gaming history. Because the reason being is I became so competitive and so enthralled in this gaming experience of just trying to get better that it came at the cost of my own mental health and well-being, and also at treating friends and family harshly. It wasn't worth it, in my opinion. So I continued playing League of Legends pretty much the entire time, and kind of have to kind of see where I'm going here. What is that? Anyways, and kind of just exploring different competitive aspects. I stopped playing story games. I stopped playing World of Warcraft. I just continued playing League of Legends. There's League of Legends, League of Legends, League of Legends, and that toxic relationship was like cocaine, man. I swear. I've never tried cocaine, but you know, we all know it's pretty addictive. So I just kept coming back. And, you know, at a certain point, I decided that I'm going to go and try a different game. One that might fit me better. You know, at the time, I had already played stuff like Call of Duty, and I knew I was pretty good at FPS games. And at the time, Valorant had came out. And yeah, I know, Valorant. Yeah, I was not a CSGO fan. Didn't like it. It is what it is. Shoot me later. But Valorant came out. And at first, I tried the beta. Different kind of game, you know, never new to the tactical shooter genre. I started in beta. And my first experience was, okay, this is fun. It's unique. But it might not be for me. And so I kind of quit the game. And League of Legends kind of took back over that life. That life of competition and competitiveness and trash talking and looking down on people and not filling this hole that I had that World of Warcraft had left. While I was, you know, making some new friends here and there, a lot of the social aspect actually gets twisted inside of competitive games. What I mean by that is, in a game such as World of Warcraft, there are a good amount of toxic people, but there's nowhere near the amount of toxic people that there are in competitive games. A lot of these people, they're just like you and me. They have families, they have friends. They only have a limited time to play. They just want to come home, they want to sit down, relax, explore, build their character, get invested into a world that is not reality. In the competitive space, people only aim to be the best. They only sweat every single time they enter the game. And by doing so, you cultivate a really, really toxic relationship with the game and the community that revolves around that game. And I know that's not the case for everybody, but that's a majority of the case of what I've found to be the true. So after another few years had gone by and Valorant finally released, I decided I was going to give it another go. And this time, I was sucked in. I played for a good amount of episodes. I played ranked, and it was a bit of a different, unique experience because this was the first actual competitive game that I took seriously that had voice comms. And with voice comms came funny moments, but also came really, really toxic moments that then imposed itself onto my view of games and into my real life. Wow, what a beautiful crystal. This zone is absolutely beautiful. Blizzard, 10 out of 10, knocked this zone out of the park. Probably one of the prettiest zones in the game. So with that being said, as I continued playing Valorant and becoming more enticed in this world of competitive gaming, my life started degrading and becoming worse and worse. And eventually, I just kind of quit subconsciously. I didn't really make an effort to quit competitive gaming. I would still play here and there, but it wouldn't be nearly to the same extent as my previous time playing these games. And then a new game came into my life, And this was during the time of Shadowlands, and we all know how bad Shadowlands was. So I actually migrated, like a bunch of other people, to Final Fantasy XIV. And that love for exploration, character building, and community reignited such a fire inside of me that within the next 4 to 6 months, I had dropped almost 1,000 hours into that game and had multiple classes maxed level of that time. And I also almost had every profession maxed out as well. And I loved it. New zones I've never seen before, new storyline that I never knew existed. The laughs, the community, the people welcoming you with open arms, the gambling at the Cactus Casino, fantastic. What a great game design. And just like every other game, you kind of get burnt out, so during those burnout stages, I would go back to this competitive scene. Same games of League of Legends, Valorant, a little bit of Rainbow Six here and there, and life would become awful again. I would treat people bad, I would look down on people, and it probably honestly was a big blow to a lot of my ego side of my personality. And then something beautiful kind of happened that I think kind of I take for granted a lot of the time. I started playing World of Warcraft again in not Shadowlands, my bad, in Dragonflight. And I had never pushed anything, that's so cool. I had never pushed anything regarding like Mythic Plus or Keystones or Raids ever before. But at the same time, my brother had started playing the game pretty seriously again after 10 plus years of not playing. And this was an opportunity for me to, reintroduce him to the game and everything that's, he's missed, but also continue building my relationship with him. And that in itself was kind of beautiful. And he also, being more of a social guy than I actually am, made new friends that he got into a Discord, and we actually formed our first official Mythic Plus group and I was having a time of my life. I was enjoying it all. I was experiencing new things, I was learning more and more about specific class builds, certain rotations, and getting better at the game, but I was missing out on the toxicity that competitive games would bring. We could completely brick a Mythic Plus key, and I'll still come out of there laughing with good memories. There's no toxic behavior there. Yeah, sometimes we were a little bit frustrated, but there was nothing we would ever say to impose negativity on each other or bring each other down. Overall, it was just a good experience. And then I took another break from World of Warcraft. Shocker, I know. Wow, crazy. And then I went back to the competitive game. Vicious loop. Constant vicious loop. But every time I went back to these competitive games, I kind of found myself playing them less and less and being more interested in the story of these games and in different kind of game genres like indie games and recently simulator games, and finding that joy of just laughing and having a good time and relaxing. And that, in my opinion, is what video games are for. And I think, another kind of twisted reality is I think social media kind of does this to us, where we see a bunch of these good players play and we're like, oh man, I bet this game's easy, I bet we can get into this, and I bet I could be as good as him, if not better. But then we all get in there and we're sucked in there, dopamine's constantly kicking, and we are just going through the trenches. At least for me, I was going through the trenches because that's how I visually viewed it. And then finally, The War Within came out, and this time something even greater happened. The cousin that I had originally looked up to along with my brother were playing this game, and it had been a lifelong dream of mine, and not only mine but also my brother's, to play with this cousin of ours, because he's the one that originally got us into this game and showed us this wonderful world that we had never explored before. So on top of that, he had never he hadn't played the game in the last 15, 16 years. You know, I think he came back in Cataclysm for a short amount of time, but eventually left. And that's due, obviously, to a bunch of life circumstances, just like how everybody else does it. And this opportunity came up, and we all decided to start playing together and build that relationship together. And we actually kind of took a ballsy move for the first time ever and decided to start our own guild. And through this guild, I've made like 3 or 4, 5 maybe, you know, a good amount of new friends that I can genuinely call my friends. And that is something I've never experienced before inside of these competitive games. In these competitive games, they were always toxic and ruining my perspective of what gaming's actually supposed to be like. And the feeling that I felt playing these social games like MMOs or these survival games or these indie games or these story-driven games is that bar none, there's nothing comparable to. And so I honestly, and this is straight up just me laying here in bed at night thinking to myself, why am I feeling this way right now? Why do I feel so down even though I was playing World of Warcraft and I was playing with my friends and my family and I was still feeling kind of down? And then it clicked. Just right before I hopped in Discord with all of them, I was playing 3, 4, 5 matches of Blizzard's new Battle Royale mode, Plunderstorm. And the competitiveness that associated with it. And while it is a lighter competitiveness than other Battle Royales or other PvP games or shooters or anything like that, it's still brings the same feeling of toxicity, and this isn't what games are supposed to be about. I want to hop in a game, love the story, fall in love with the characters, build my character, heck, maybe even roleplay. I want to explore, and I think that's something that The War Within kind of reignited it inside of myself, was the ability to explore. You know, you go down in, and dude, everyone's got the same experience here for the majority of the time. You hit this zone, you hit Hollowfall here, with this giant crystal, over here, with this giant crystal in the sky right as you enter the zone, and you see how small your character is. There's nothing that feels like this anymore nowadays, I feel like. Just being like, I have this small character in this huge zone with unknown monsters, loot, lore, and a vast amount of exploration at my fingertips. And I'm choosing to, instead of embark on this wonderful journey, make new friends and stuff like that, to waste my time playing these competitive game modes that are ruining my view of video games and impacting my daily life in real life with my real relationships. And that is not what gaming is supposed to be like. I hope there are other people that can kind of relate to what I'm saying and the feeling that I'm portraying here in this video. And this is not like any of the other videos I make. Actually, I honestly prefer making these kind of videos more than my past videos on this channel. So if you guys share the same experience and same perspective and same mindset, then please share them in the comments. I want to read your guys' stories, what you've been through, how you feel. This is a community after all. You know, this is a family. I guess you can say this is like my own online guild. So yeah, that's just my view. That's my view on competitive gaming and how it pretty much had ruined my entire relationship with video games. And now I'm starting to rebuild that relationship and start to fall in love with them again. And I'm also starting to experience new games and trying new games, things I never really thought about in the first place. And I hope that you can kind of find the same solidarity in these words and be able to experience something new and have these same feelings that I'm experiencing at this moment. So anyways, that's all I gotta say. I hope you guys all have a good one. I love y'all. I seriously mean it. I love y'all. Peace.